Hello and welcome students. I hope you all are fine. So this is lecture number first of acid, base and salt. Okay, this is chapter of class 10. Let's begin this class without wasting our time. So guys, we will start with introduction. First of all, we will see some basic introduction of acid, base and salt. Okay, so we all know that the chemicals which are present on this earth have three type of nature. First one is acidic, second one is basic, and third one is neutral. Okay, so there are three type of nature. Now guys, if I talk about acids, then acids are just opposite of bases. Acids are what? They are just opposite of bases. And when these two reacts with each other, so because of the opposite nature, they neutralize each other and they form a neutral compound. Okay, so here we just need to understand that acids and bases are different from each other. I hope guys this thing is clear to you. Now let me give you a basic example to make you understand what did I just say. So guys, we all know when we learn the chemical reaction, at that time I told you that whenever acid reacts with base, then it forms a neutral compound and water. And this is a neutralization reaction. So let's suppose I am taking HCl, which is hydrochloric acid. Which is what? Hydrochloric acid. So when I react this hydrochloric acid to this NaOH, this NaOH is what? It is basically a base. This is a base. And this is an acid. And this is sodium hydroxide. Now when this acid reacts with this base, then it will form an ACl, which is sodium chloride, and this is also known as common salt. Common salt. Okay, and water is also formed. So guys, you need to know that common salt, this is the salt which is basically used in our houses daily. We use it in our food. So that is the common salt, and it is neutral in nature. It is neutral in nature. It is neither acidic nor basic. I hope guys this thing is clear to you. Now let's move ahead and let's talk about the other things. Okay, so here we are. Here we will talk about the difference between acid, base and salt. So first of all, we will see the difference between acid and base, and then we will talk about salt. So guys, acids are sour in nature. This is the first difference on the basis of the taste. Okay, and if I talk about bases, then bases are bitter in nature. They are bitter in nature. If you taste an acid, then you will feel like that it is sour, and when you taste a base, then it will be bitter in taste. If I give you an example of this, so we all know that lemon is sour in taste. Lemon is what? It is sour in taste. So why it is sour in taste? Because it has citric acid. Citric acid. So because of the presence of this citric acid, lemon is sour. And there is another example as well, and that is tamarind. Let me write it here, tamarind. So guys, this tamarind is also sour, and what is the cause of the sourness in tamarind? And that is tartaric acid. Let me write it here, tartaric acid. Okay, so because of the presence of the tartaric acid, it is sour. I hope guys, by the help of the examples, you must have been able to understand why lemon is sour and why tamarind is sour. Now guys, let's talk about the bases. So bases are bitter in nature. Let me give you an example on this. You might have heard about baking soda. Baking soda. So if you taste this baking soda, then it will be bitter in taste. Okay, so why this is bitter in taste? Because baking soda is a base and bases are bitter in taste. Okay, and this baking soda is basically used in our daily life, in our kitchen. Okay, this baking soda is used in fermentation. So I hope guys this thing is clear to you. Let me write the chemical formula of this, and the chemical formula for this is NaHCO3. And what is its chemical name? This baking soda is a common name. So what is the chemical name of this? So the chemical name is sodium bicarbonate or sodium hydrogen carbonate. Let me write it here, sodium bicarbonate. Okay, so I hope guys this thing is clear to you. And let me give you another example of this, and that is our soap. Okay, soaps are also bitter in taste. Okay, because these are the example of bases. Now guys, magnesium hydroxide. Magnesium hydroxide, and this is known as milk of magnesia. Milk of magnesia. So this is used as a cure of acidity. Whenever there is an excess of acid in our stomach, so we can consume this milk of magnesia, then we will feel relaxed in our acidity. Okay, and guys, this milk of magnesia is used in ENO. Okay, it is used in ENO. I hope guys this thing is clear to you. Now let's move ahead and let's talk about some other factors by which we can differentiate between acid and bases. So here we are. Now guys, let me change the pen. Okay, here I am writing acid, here I am writing base. Okay guys, so first of all, you should know what is a litmus paper or a litmus solution. So litmus is basically used to detect the nature of a chemical. If we want to find out that a chemical is acidic or not, then we take help of this litmus paper or litmus solution. Okay, because we cannot taste any acid because sometimes it is very dangerous. So it can spoil our parts, our body parts. So that's why guys, we do not use or we do not detect the nature of a chemical just by tasting it, because sometimes it can be dangerous. So we have indicators for this. We have indicators for this, and this litmus is a type of indicator. So we will discuss about indicator later, but here you just need to understand that indicators are used to detect whether a chemical is acidic or not. Okay. Now guys, or you can also say that indicators are used for both, to test for acid and as well as base. Okay, these are used for both. And if there is no change, or you can say if there is no change in odor or color or taste of an indicator, then we would say that the chemical is neutral. Okay, so we will talk about these things later, but here you just need to know that litmus is a type of indicator. So guys, what happens? This acid turns the color of the blue litmus into the red. What will it do? It will, let me write it here, it will turn blue litmus to red. Okay, I hope guys this thing is clear to you. If I talk about base, then bases turns the color of red litmus to blue. It turns color of red litmus to blue. I hope this thing is clear to you. So if you have a blue litmus paper or blue litmus solution, and when you add it with acid, then the color of that litmus will change and it will become red. Okay. But if you have a red litmus paper or red litmus solution, and if you add it with base, then it will change its colors into blue. I hope guys this basic thing is clear to you. Now let's move ahead and let's talk about some other thing as well. So basically guys, what happens when you add an acid in red litmus solution? So what will happen? Red litmus solution will remain red. It will remain red in acid. Why? Because blue litmus paper turns into red, but red will remain red in acid. But if I talk about base, so base turns the color of red litmus to blue, but let's suppose if you dip it into a blue litmus, then what will happen? The color of the litmus will remain blue. So you do not need to be confused at this point. Okay, I hope guys these things are clear to you. Now let's talk about some more things as well. Okay, so guys, if I tell you the definition of an acid, then what will be the definition? So acids are the chemicals which when dissolved in water forms H plus ion. Okay, let me write it here. Acids, if you are asked that what is an acid, then we will not say that acids are sour in nature and bases are bitter in nature. We should have the knowledge of a proper definition. Okay, so what is the definition of acid? So acids are the chemicals which when dissolved in water gives H plus ion. Okay, dissolve in water and it will give H plus ions. And on the other hand, bases are the chemical which when dissolves in water forms OH minus ion. It will form OH minus ions. So this is the basic difference, and this is how we can say whether a chemical is acidic or not. If it is acidic, then when you dissolve it into water, then it will split into H plus ion, or we can say it will form H plus ion. And if you dissolve a base into water, then it will form OH minus ion. I hope guys this basic thing is clear to you. Now after understanding the differences between these acid and bases. Let's move ahead on the next slide and let's talk about other things as well.
So here guys, we will be talking about what is a strong acid and what is a weak acid. So basically, the strong acid is the acid which after dissolving in water gives more H plus ion. On the other hand, the acid which after dissolving in water gives less H plus ion are known as weak acid. In strong acid, you can say that more H plus ion after dissolving in water and there is less H plus ion after dissolving in water. Okay, so let's talk about some of the strong acid. So on the very first example, let's take HCl. So this HCl is basically a strong acid. So how it dissolves in water? It dissolves like this. It will form H plus Cl minus after dissolving in water. Okay. We can also take another example of another strong acid and that is H2SO4 and this is sulfuric acid. Now this sulfuric acid will be dissolved like H plus and SO4 minus 2 ion. Okay, so because there is 2 hydrogen present, so I will multiply here with 2. So 2H plus SO4 minus 2. So this is how sulfuric acid dissolves in water. Now let's talk about HNO3. This is what? This is nitric acid. So this nitric acid which also dissolve like this H plus and NO3 minus ion. Okay, so these are some of the strong acids and after dissolving in water they will produce more H plus ion. Okay guys, I hope this point is clear to you. Now guys, on the other hand, there are some weak acids as well. So I told you that weak acids after dissolving in water they will give less H plus ion. So these are some of the examples of weak acid like acetic acid. Acetic acid, this is CH3COOH. This is a weak acid. This is what? This is a weak acid. Now one more thing I want to tell you that this H plus ion sometimes further reacts with water and this forms what? H3O plus and this is hydronium ion. This is what? This is hydronium ion. So I hope guys the concept of strong and weak acid is clear to you. If it is clear to you, so let's move on to the next slide.
Okay students, so here we will talk about strong and weak bases. So just like acids, the bases which dissolve more in water, we will call it strong bases. Or we can also say after dissolving in the water, if a base is giving more OH minus ion, you have to remember that bases forms OH minus ion after dissolving. So the bases which after dissolving forms more OH minus ion are known as strong bases. Strong bases. And the bases which form less OH minus ion are known as weak bases. Okay, more OH minus ions and less OH minus ion. I hope guys this thing is clear to you. Let me give you some example of strong and weak bases. So the first example of a strong base is NaOH. NaOH. Okay. And this is what? This is sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide is a strong base. Okay. And HCl, which is hydrochloric acid, and HCl is a strong acid. So in the first slide, when I was telling you the neutralization reaction, then I told you that we use these two, NaOH and HCl, to form NaCl, which is our common salt. So we can say that a common salt is formed by the help of NaOH, sodium hydroxide, which is a strong base, and HCl, which is a strong acid. Now guys, let me tell you how this NaOH is dissolved in water. So this is H2O, which is chemical formula of water, and when this NaOH is dissolved in water, then it will give us Na plus OH minus, and you can see that OH minus ion is formed. Now let me give you other example of a strong base as well, that is KOH. Okay, and this KOH will dissolve or will split like this, K plus and OH minus. So this is also an example of dissolving, or you can say a strong base dissolving in the water. Okay, so this is sodium hydroxide and this is potassium hydroxide. Let me write it here, potassium hydroxide. Okay, so I hope guys this thing is clear to you. Now let me tell you what is the example of a weak base. So weak bases we know, which forms less OH minus ion. So I told you MgOH whole twice. So this is also known as milk of magnesia. Milk of magnesia. We all know it. Okay, I had told you that it is used in the cure of acidity. So this MgOH whole twice, when it dissolves in water, then it will form Mg plus 2 plus OH minus. Okay, I hope guys these things are clear to you, that the bases which dissolves more in water or which gives more OH minus ion known as strong bases, and the bases which give less OH minus ion, this milk of magnesia is an example of weak base. So because it is giving less OH minus ion, that's why we have categorized it as weak bases. Okay, I hope guys this thing is clear to you. Now after understanding this, let's move ahead on the next slide and let's talk about some more important things. So students, here we will see some natural acids, okay, which are found in nature. So this can be asked in your examination, that what are the example of natural acids. So here I am writing natural source, and here I am writing acids. Okay, so the source of the acid and the acid which is found in that source. So a first type of acid is acidic acid. Acidic acid. Now guys, you tell me that is it a strong acid or is it a weak acid? I had just told you before one slide that this is an example of weak acid. So that's why the source of this natural, or you can say the source of this acid is vinegar. It is found in vinegar. Okay, you might have heard about this vinegar. Now let's talk about citric acid. Citric acid, and this citric acid is found in orange as well as lemon. I'm writing it here, lemon and orange. Okay, and let's talk about tartaric acid. So tartaric acid we had seen in the example that it is found in tamarind. Okay, and the name of this acid is tartaric acid. This is the reason, and this is responsible for the sourness of tamarind, and citric acid is responsible in the sourness of lemon and orange. Okay, now guys, let's talk about lactic acid. It is commonly used in examination. So lactic acid is found in curd. Okay, so this is found in curd. And one more acid is very important, and that is basically the methanoic acid. Methanoic acid, and this is found in the ant sting. Okay, whenever ant bite us, then there is a inflammation of that part. So why is that? Because of the methanoic acid. So it is responsible for the inflammation in our body while being bitten by a ant. Okay, so because in ant sting, methanoic acid is found. I hope guys this thing is clear to you. Now after understanding this, let's move ahead and let's talk about some examples. Okay students, so here we will see an example so that it will check our knowledge that how we have learned this chapter. So guys, first of all we will read this question. You have been provided with 3 test tubes. One of them contains distilled water and the other 2 contain an acidic solution and a basic solution respectively. If you are given only red litmus paper, how will you identify the content of each test tube? Okay, so let me explain this to you that what is given in this question. So basically we have been given 3 test tubes like this. Okay, let's give them a name A, B and C. Now guys, in these 3 test tube, a acidic solution, okay, basic solution and water. And you should know that distilled water is always neutral. It is neither acidic nor basic. Okay, so guys, what happens? We have to find out that in which test tube acid solution is present, in which test tube basic solution is present, and in which test tube distilled water is present. So to detect it, we have been given a red litmus paper. Red litmus paper. Okay, so how can we do that? So basically guys, what we will do, we will dip this red litmus paper one by one in each test tube. So let's start with this A, okay, and then we will dip it with B, and then we will dip it into the C. Now guys, let's suppose if I dip it into this B test tube and the color of this red litmus paper turns into blue, then we can say that in this B test tube base is present. Okay, this is a basic solution basically. Okay, so guys, why is it a basic solution? Because we know that bases change the color of red litmus paper into blue. So because it changed the color, that's why base are present in this solution. Now guys, this is done and these 2 test tubes are still remaining. So we have to find out in which acidic solution is present and in which water is present. So guys, you can see that after dipping the red litmus paper in the basic solution, it becomes blue. So what we will do, we will dip this blue litmus paper one by one in these remaining test tube. So let's suppose if I dip it into this test tube A and the color is not changed, and when I dip it into this C and the color is changed from blue to red, because we know that acid turns the color of blue litmus paper into red. So because after dipping it into the C, the blue litmus paper is changed into red litmus paper, that's why acid is present in this test tube. Okay, and now the last one has distilled water because it didn't show any color change. So that's why it is distilled water. Okay, so thus we detected that in which test tube acid is present, in which test tube base is present, and in which test tube distilled water is present. So I hope guys this thing is clear to you. Now let's move ahead on the next slide. Okay students, so after understanding this lecture, I hope you must have enjoyed it. So we will meet in the upcoming lecture. Thank you so much and bye bye.